3 years ago, a 73-year-old woman sat in my office and told me something I have never forgotten. She had survived breast cancer. She had done everything her doctors asked. Chemotherapy, radiation, she lost her hair. She couldn't eat for weeks. There were days, she said, she didn't know if the treatment was going to kill her before the cancer did, but she got through it. Her scans came back clean. Her oncologist told her she was cancer-free. 9 months later, she was back in my office. This time, there were tumors in her liver. She looked at me and asked a question that I think about constantly, even now. She said, "Why did it come back?" If you have ever sat in a hospital room with someone you love, or if you have faced a diagnosis yourself, you know exactly how heavy that question is. And what makes it so devastating is that most people are told the answer is simply bad luck, that cancer is unpredictable, that sometimes it just returns and there is nothing anyone could have done differently. That is not the full truth. My name is Dr. Young. After years in metabolic medicine and cancer prevention, I can tell you that the reason cancer returns is not a mystery. There is a specific biological explanation for it. And more importantly, there is a specific, inexpensive food, a deep purple vegetable you can find in almost any grocery store, that has been studied in peer-reviewed research for its ability to target the exact cellular mechanism that causes cancer to come back. Today, I'm going to show you what that mechanism is, why conventional treatment often misses it, and a precise step-by-step way to prepare this food at home that doubles its effectiveness. Because how you prepare it matters just as much as whether you eat it at all. To understand why cancer returns, you first have to understand something that most patients are never told about their own disease. When someone goes through surgery, chemotherapy, or radiation, the goal is to eliminate the visible tumor, the mass that shows up on a scan, the cluster of cells that has grown large enough to detect. And in many cases, that treatment is genuinely successful. The tumor shrinks. The scan comes back clear. The patient is told they are cancer-free. But inside that tumor, before treatment ever begins, there is a very small population of cells that behaves completely differently from the rest. These are called cancer stem cells. And they are the reason my patient was sitting across from me 9 months after a clean scan. Let me give you a picture that makes this very clear. Think about a dandelion in your front yard. You can take a lawnmower and cut the entire thing down. The leaves, the flower, every visible part of it. Your lawn looks perfect. You would not even know it had been there. But if you leave the deep taproot in the soil, what happens? 2 weeks later, the dandelion is back, exactly where it was, sometimes bigger. Cancer stem cells are that taproot. Standard chemotherapy is designed to attack cells that are rapidly dividing, cells that are actively growing and multiplying. It does that job reasonably well, but cancer stem cells are different. They are slow growing. They are dormant. They do not divide rapidly, which means chemotherapy largely does not register them as a target. So while the treatment destroys the bulk of the tumor, these stem cells sit quietly in the tissue, waiting. And when the treatment ends, when the body's defenses are exhausted from the fight, they begin to do what stem cells do. They regenerate, not just locally, often in a completely different organ, which is why so many people who were told their cancer was gone find it returning, not where it started, but in the liver, the lungs, the bone. This is not bad luck. This is biology. And the question that has occupied cancer researchers for years is a very specific one. Is there anything that can selectively target cancer stem cells without harming the healthy cells around them? The answer that came out of the research stopped me. Not a pharmaceutical compound, not a synthetic drug developed in a laboratory at enormous expense. A purple potato. I know how that sounds. Stay with me for a moment. Purple potatoes are not a new invention. They have been cultivated for thousands of years in South America. If you have never seen one, they look striking. Dark purplish skin on the outside, and when you cut them open, the flesh is a deep, vivid violet color all the way through. That color is not cosmetic. It is biological. It comes from a class of compounds called anthocyanins, the same family of molecules that gives blueberries their deep blue color, that gives red cabbage its richness, that gives pomegranates their deep red. Anthocyanins are powerful anti-inflammatory, antioxidant compounds. But in the context of cancer biology, researchers discovered they do something far more specific than general antioxidant activity. A research team at Penn State University took that question seriously. They gave laboratory animals a purple potato extract and measured what happened to tumor growth compared to animals given a regular white potato extract. The tumors in the purple potato group grew grew 65% slower. When the researchers looked at exactly how this was happening, they found two distinct mechanisms at work. First, the anthocyanins were cutting off the blood supply to the tumors, blocking the process by which cancer builds the new blood vessels it needs to feed itself and grow. Second, and this is the part that directly addresses everything we just talked about, they were actively killing the cancer stem cells, the taproot, not just the visible plant. Then, a separate study at Ohio State University took this further and focused specifically on colon cancer stem cells. Researchers exposed those cells directly to purple potato extract and watched what happened. The extract hunted down and killed the cancer stem cells. But here is the detail that every person watching this needs to hear clearly. The healthy colon cells sitting right next to those cancer stem cells, the normal functioning tissue, were left completely unharmed. In medicine, we call this selective toxicity. It is the single most difficult challenge in cancer treatment. How do you kill the cancer without killing the patient? How do you target the abnormal cells without destroying the healthy ones? Chemotherapy struggles with this. It is one of the primary reasons treatment carries such brutal side effects. It cannot reliably distinguish between a cancer cell and a healthy cell that happens to be dividing rapidly. These purple potato compounds, in a controlled laboratory setting, made that distinction cleanly. I am not telling you purple potatoes replace cancer treatment. I am telling you the research is real, the mechanism is specific, and the food costs a few dollars at a grocery store. Now I need to slow down here, because this next part is the most important thing I will say in this entire video. Most people who hear about a cancer-fighting food will go home, cook it the most convenient way they can, eat it hot out of the oven, and get a fraction of the benefit they could have gotten. Not because they did anything wrong, but because nobody told them that with this specific food, preparation is everything. If you bake a purple potato, pull it out of the oven steaming hot, and eat it right away, you are making a metabolic mistake that directly undermines why you are eating it in the first place. Here is why. A hot baked potato has a glycemic index of around 95. For reference, pure table sugar has a glycemic index of 65. A hot potato hits your bloodstream faster than sugar does. It causes a sharp, rapid spike in blood glucose. Now, under normal circumstances, a blood sugar spike is not ideal, but it is not catastrophic. Your body handles it. But in the context of cancer biology, a blood sugar spike is a different matter entirely. Cancer cells have damaged mitochondria. Their internal power generators are broken. Because of this, they cannot efficiently burn fat or use oxygen the way healthy cells do. So they rely almost entirely on a primitive backup system called fermentation. And fermentation runs on one thing: glucose. Cancer cells consume glucose at a rate 10 to 50 times higher than your healthy cells. This is actually how PET scans work. Doctors inject a radioactive glucose tracer into the bloodstream, and it lights up wherever cancer cells are concentrated, because the cancer cells grab it so aggressively. When you eat a hot potato and flood your bloodstream with glucose, you are feeding that system. You are delivering the anthocyanins that target cancer stem cells with one hand and handing the cancer its preferred fuel with the other. The delivery vehicle is working against you. This is where the preparation protocol changes everything. Cook your purple potatoes however you prefer. Bake them, boil them, steam them. The cooking method itself is not the critical variable. What happens after cooking is. Once they are cooked, let them cool to room temperature. Then, put them in the refrigerator overnight. That cooling process triggers a physical transformation in the starch molecules inside the potato. They rearrange their structure into something called resistant starch. And the reason this matters is in the name. Resistant starch literally resists digestion. When you eat a cold purple potato the next day, sliced into a salad, mixed with olive oil and lemon juice, whatever preparation you enjoy, it does not cause a blood sugar spike. Your blood glucose stays stable. You are getting the full dose of anthocyanins delivered to your cells without triggering the glucose surge that feeds cancer's energy supply. You are sending the weapon without sending the fuel. But it goes further than that. Because resistant starch resists digestion in the small intestine, it travels intact all the way to your colon. And there, it becomes food for your gut bacteria, specifically for the beneficial bacteria that your immune system depends on to function at full capacity. Your gut bacteria ferment that resistant starch and produce compounds called short-chain fatty acids. These fatty acids absorb into your bloodstream and act as a direct anti-inflammatory signal throughout your entire body. We have talked in previous videos about chronic low-grade inflammation and how it acts as fertilizer for cancer cells, creating the environment where dormant cancer stem cells are more likely to wake up up and start growing. Short-chain fatty acids directly suppress that inflammatory environment. They smother the conditions that those dormant cells depend on. So the cold purple potato is doing three things simultaneously. It is delivering anthocyanins that selectively target cancer stem cells. It is keeping your blood sugar stable so you are not feeding the cancer at the same time. And it is producing anti-inflammatory compounds that make the surrounding environment hostile to any cells trying to regenerate. One food, three mechanisms, all activated by simply letting it cool overnight. Now I want to show you one more layer to this protocol, because on its own, the purple potato is powerful, but paired with what I am about to describe, it becomes something close to a complete anti-recurrence strategy. Your immune system has its own dedicated cancer surveillance team. Natural killer cells and T cells patrol your tissue around the clock, identifying cells that are behaving abnormally and eliminating them before they become a problem. When this system is working properly, it catches the microscopic stuff, the early stage abnormal cells, before they ever become a tumor. But that surveillance system does not operate in isolation. It is regulated in large part by your gut, specifically by a bacteria called Akkermansia muciniphila. Research into cancer patients undergoing immunotherapy, a treatment that works by activating the immune system to attack tumors, found a striking pattern. The patients who responded successfully to treatment, whose immune systems mounted an effective attack on the cancer, consistently had high levels of Akkermansia in their gut microbiome. The patients who did not respond to treatment had almost none. This bacteria communicates directly with your immune system through the gut wall. It sends signals that prime your immune cells to be more aggressive, more alert, and more capable of identifying and destroying abnormal cells. Without it, your immune surveillance team is running at reduced capacity. To rapidly increase Akkermansia levels, the research points to one specific food: pure pomegranate juice. Pomegranates contain large, complex molecules called elagitannins. When these travel to your colon, they stimulate your gut lining to produce a thick, healthy layer of mucus. And that mucus is the specific environment that Akkermansia thrives in. It is essentially the fertile soil this bacteria needs to multiply. 8 ounces of 100% pure pomegranate juice per day is what the research suggests. If the tartness is too strong, or you want to moderate the natural fruit sugars, dilute it. 4 ounces of juice with 4 ounces of water. Drink it before bed so the elagitannins have the entire night to work in your colon while your digestive system is at rest. The combination of the cold purple potato a few times a week and a daily glass of diluted pomegranate juice creates a biological environment that is genuinely hostile to cancer recurrence. You are targeting the stem cells directly with anthocyanins. You are cutting off the glucose supply by stabilizing blood sugar. You are suppressing the inflammatory environment those cells depend on. And you are building up the immune surveillance system that cleans up whatever gets through. This is not a single magic food. It is a coherent biological strategy. I want to bring this back to where we started. That woman in my office 3 years ago asking why her cancer came back. I could not go back in time and give her this information before her recurrence, but I can give it to you now. And what I want you to take from this video is not fear, it is clarity. Cancer recurrence is not random. It follows a biological logic. Cancer stem cells survive standard treatment because standard treatment was not designed to target them. They sit dormant in an inflammatory environment, feeding on excess glucose, waiting for the immune system's guard to drop. Every single part of that chain can be addressed with food that costs a few dollars a week, not instead of medical care, alongside it, as a deliberate, informed biological strategy that your oncologist may not have mentioned. Not because it does not work, but because nutrition protocols rarely make it into the 10 minutes most doctors have with each patient. You now know more about the biology of cancer recurrence than most people who have been through a diagnosis. Use it. Have you ever eaten a purple potato? Or is this the first time you are hearing about them? Drop your answer in the comments right now. I read every one, and your questions shape exactly what I cover next. If what I shared today gave you something concrete, something you can act on this week, please share this video with someone who needs it, particularly someone who has been through a cancer diagnosis and is looking for ways to take their power back. And make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss what is coming. I am Dr. Young. Keep asking the hard questions about your health. Keep demanding the real science, and I will see you in the next one. Disclaimer: the information presented in this video is intended for educational purposes only and and is based on published, peer-reviewed scientific research. It does not constitute medical advice and should not be interpreted as a diagnosis, treatment recommendation, or substitute for professional medical consultation. Individual health circumstances vary significantly, and what is appropriate for one person may not be appropriate for another. If you are currently undergoing cancer treatment, have been diagnosed with a serious medical condition, or are taking prescription medications, please speak with your treating physician or oncologist before making any changes to your diet or health protocol. The studies referenced in this video are real and publicly available, and I encourage you to read them. But research findings, even strong ones, are one part of a larger clinical picture. Your doctor knows your history. Work with them.